Okei, me oleme nüüd live või peaks olema live. Ja te olete live.
Nii, tervist. Keegi on juba siin online.
Ja tere, Imre, kõik on olemas, me ainult ootame nüüd minister Mikserit.
Minister Mikseriga ma rääkisin just teisel lainel, ta helistas mulle sisse ja siis me hakkasime kahekesi debatti pidama. Nii et me ootame nüüd, et ka sellele ühisele lainele jõuaks. Okay. Tal on vist mingi teine aadress.
Ei peaks olema, ma just saatsin Madis Roodale aadressi, et ta peaks olema.
Aga ühesõnaga, teised on online kuuldel, me siin kõik, jah?
Kõik on olemas, jaa. Ja see stream on praegu käimas.
Selge. Kuidas see piltide vahetus siin käib? Ma ei ole enne Google Hangoutsis olnud, et kuidas me teineteist näeme või kordamööda keegi vajutab siis meid sisse või kuidas see käib siin? Äkki sina Urmas tead?
Ja ma arvan, et minul vähemasti selline piltide rida on ekraani all servas. Et ma näen kõiki.
Okei, see tuli.
Aga sina oled miski pärast suurel ekraanil. Kõik teised on pisikesed.
Aga keegi vist
Mina näen Eerik sind suurel. Ai, nüüd on nii praegu.
Tegelikult seda saab võib-olla ise vahetada. Seda saab ise vahetada, selge. Aga Sven, sina esined siin Madisena.
Ja, mul on nutiseade on Madise oma. Ma esinen ikka oma nime all.
Minister Mikser on ka olemas. Väga hea, siis me saame varsti alustada. Tere tulemast. Sinu pilt on siin meil Toronto rahva ees ja me kuuleme ja näeme sind.
Väga meeldiv.
Okei, no alustame siis. Ma räägin mõlemas inglise ja eesti keeles ja ma arvan, et see terve debatt käib edasi mõlemas keeles, aga pealmiselt räägime inglise keeles. So welcome to everyone here in Toronto and watching us around the world for this first ever Global Estonian pre-election town hall discussion on issues important to the 200,000 Estonians living outside of Estonia. Before we begin, I ask that Laaz Leevat, former president of the Estonian Central Council in Canada and the World Council of Estonians and the honorary consul of the Republic of Estonia, to say a few words of introduction.
Okay. Armsad sõbrad siin ja Eestis. Tere tulemast globaalse eestlaste rahvakoosolekule. See on teine selline koosolek, mis EKN on Torontos korraldanud. 4 aastat tagasi katsetasime samalaadse koosolekuga, aga mitte nii suure laia ulatusega, nagu see on täna välja kukkunud. Mina tahan teile tutvustada moderaatorid, professor Andres Kasekamp, kes on Toronto ülikooli Eesti ainelise õppetooli professor ja muidugi Markus Kolga, kes on EKN-u esimees juba pikemalt 3 aastat, väga aktiivselt 3 aastat olnud. Ja tõesti tänu temale on selline kokkutulek täna siin võimalik. 50-aastane lahusolek on tekitanud ka erinevusi kodumaa elavate ja võõrsil elavate eestlate vahel. Meil on erinevusi, aga meil on ka mitmeid asju, millega me oleme sarnased. Ja üks nendest on see, et meile on ka antud õigus osaleda Eesti valimistes. See tähendab üle Riigikogu valimistes, mitte kohaliku valimistes. Aga selle õigusega kaasneb ka kohustus. Et tõesti kohustus, et meie siin näitame oma huvi Eesti tuleviku vastu ja tuleme välja valima sellise kandidaadi, kelle silmis, kes on meie silmis Eesti parema tuleviku huvides väljas. Ma mäletan ükskord ülikoolis, kui professor küsis õpilaste käest, et mis teie arvates on poliitika. Ja seal olid mitmed sorti vastused. Ja see samane professor, kes oli hiljem ka siin Kanada valitsuse liige, cabinet member, oli vahepeal ka Toronto linna peal, ütles sedasi. Ta ise oli hiljem poliitik, ütles sedasi, et poliitika pole midagi vähem või rohkem, kui pürgida selle poole, et valitud saab taas valitud. Ma mäletan, küsiti ükskord veteraan Riigikogu liikme käest, et oled sa ka eluaeg olnud, mulle tundub, et sa oled eluaeg olnud siin Riigikogu liige. Ja see Riigikogu liige vastab väga hiidlaslikult. Mitte veel. Ja kui eestlane börsil on veendunud, et tema hääl on väärtusetu, siis arvestage sellega, et iga hääl, mis jääb kasutamata, võib suurendada nende häälte mõju, kes ei hooli eesti keelest, kultuurist, rahvusest ega riiklikust turvalisust ja sõltumatusest. Eestlane, kes on võtnud omale kodanikuõigusi, peaks ka võtma omale kodanikukohustusi. Tihtipeale need, kes ei taha hääletada või ei ole hääletanud, ütlevad sedasi, et mul ei ole mitte õigus hääletama, ma elan välismaal ja ei maksa mitte riigimakse. Aga suuremas osas need, kes elavad välismaal, ei koorma ka mitte riigieelarvet. Me ei kasuta mitte Eesti riigi haridussüsteemi, tervishoiusüsteemi ja nõnda edasi. Nii et me ei kurna seda. Nii et ma arvan, et see vaidlus nagu jääb kõrvale. Ja siis on ka vastanud inimesed, et aga ma ei tea midagi Eestist. See ei ole ka vastus. Google ja internet on olemas, nii et igal ajal sa saad endale tutvuda parteipoliitikaga ja sellega, mis Eestis juhtub. Nii et põhjus siin, miks pärast selliseid asju on korraldatud, et innustada ja tiivustada neid, kes pole varem hääletanud, tulgu 16. veebruaril laupäevane päev siia valimispunkti ja hääletagu. Ja kui me oleme natuke küünilised Kanada, USA ja ka Eesti poliitikute üle, kes panevad enda, kes tahavad kandidaadid olla ja valituks saada, ma ütlen ausalt sedasi, et ma ei leia kõikide nende kandidaatide hulgast, kes on Eestis praegust kandidaadid, selline, kes ütleb sedasi. Ma ehitan müüri Eesti ja Venemaa vahel ja lasen Putinil selle välja maksta.
Aitäh, Laas.
Nii, ma siis tutvustan kandidaate, kes osalevad siin debatis. Teen seda vist inglise keeles.
Väga hea.
Okay, hästi. First of all, in alphabetical order, we have Andres Herkel, who's been in the Riigikogu since 1999. He has a lot of experience with foreign policy. He's been the Estonian representative in the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. He is the leader and founder of Vaba Erakond, and he is his party's candidate for Põhja-Tallinn, Haabersti, and Kristiine. Next, we have Erik Kross, who has been a diplomat, a politician, studying at Harvard recently. He's the Reformierakonna candidate for Ida-Virumaa, and occasionally Erik is mentioned in the international press as the Estonian James Bond, which is probably not quite accurate. Next, we have standing beside me here, Jaak Madison, who is the only one who managed to come here, made the flight specifically to join us today. He's also the youngest of the candidates. He was first elected to the Riigikogu in 2015. He's the deputy leader of EKRE, which is the Estonian Conservative People's Party, and he's the party candidate for Järvamaa and Viljandimaa. Meelis Niinepuu is sort of new to politics because he's the vice chairman of a new party, Eesti 200, which has been making a lot of waves. That's a pun on your symbol, which is a sailboat. And you've worked a lot in the nonprofit sector. You're a consulting firm which works in 12 different countries. Also the chairman of the Estonian National Institute for Memory. And you're the candidate for your party in Pirita and Lasnamäe. In alphabetical order, of course, our foreign minister, Sven Mikser. Sven Mikser, who is our foreign minister. He's also been our defense minister at the time that Estonia joined NATO. He has a lot of political experience and international experience. He's also been the leader of the Social Democrats. He is his party's candidate for Põhja-Tallinn, Haberist, and Kristiine. So he's going neck and neck with Andres Herkel. Then we move to our other cabinet minister, Urmas Reinsalu, who's the Estonian Minister of Justice. This past summer, Urmas led an effort to create a parliamentary committee for Global Estonian Affairs. He is the Isamaa candidate for Mustamäe and Nõmme, and he began his career in Estonian public service, working for the office of President Lennart Meri. And finally, we have Imre Sooäär, who I think is very well known to people here because Imre has many years ago taught little Canadian Estonian kids choir singing in these very same rooms. But Imre's position, he's been in, well, more than one political party. Now he's in the Centre Party, and he's sort of well known internationally because the manor house and restaurant he runs in Padaste on Muhum Island has gotten a lot of praise in international media, including the Financial Times. So welcome to all of you, and we're looking forward to a great debate, and Margus is going to kick off.
Well, ma tänan teid ka kõiki osalemise eest. But I'd like to first welcome and thank a few of our international partners and colleagues who are here with us today and online via the ERR news stream and Postimees. First of all, we have with us today from the Estonian American National Council, Mati Prima, who wants to say a couple of words on behalf of his organization.
Tere. Hello. I'm going to speak in English, if that's okay with everyone. I want to thank Markus and EKN for inviting us here, and also to show solidarity amongst us North American Estonians. We may be separated by a political border, but our interests are the same culturally, as well as language, artistically, and creatively. I want to also applaud all the candidates having campaigned for election and having won election, and knowing the decisions that you're going to have to be making in the future once you're chosen. They'll be both popular and unpopular. So I do applaud you for your public service. I want to just tell you, ERKU, which is the Estonian American National Council, is a membership organization. We are growing significantly now due to the number of kodueestlased and also people like myself who were born in the United States. I, under the US Constitution, can run for president. Maybe unfortunately, there hasn't been a call to draft me yet to run for president. But I'm here on behalf of Marju Rinka-Abel, who is president of ERKU, my counterpart, Vice President Meelis Bartling, who is Vice President of Strategy. I am the Vice President of Outreach. So I'm here today to also ask questions, but also let you know that American Estonians, whether they are from Eesti, or they're much like myself, who was born and raised and was successful in the United States, having given the privilege by my parents who are from Tallinn and Tartu to have that opportunity, there is a greater interest now in Eesti and in things that you're doing by people like myself and those others who are väliseestlased. And ERCO has raised significant funding, so much so that we have 2 full-time employees. We have an administrator, executive director, who administrates all our operations, and we have a full-time employee that is in DC, Karin Shui, who was a former US Naval commander, was stationed in Tallinn for a while. She walks the halls of Congress and works with Priit Kalakas and with Aire Kork, who is liaises with the Senate, and Mr. Kalakas liaises with Congress. And this is very important because we are now growing the Baltic Caucus, and this is all as it relates to US national security under the guise of NATO, which indirectly affects Eesti. We are the only Baltic American country that has their own representative in DC. We're very proud of that. And this has been very effective. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Matti. Online, we also have the Swedish Estonian Association, REL, and Sirle Sööt, its president, the Council of Estonian Societies in Australia. If those need öökullid, kes elavad Austraalias, vaatavad kindlasti praegu ka. The World Estonian Council, Avo Reinfeldt is the president. He's watching and contributing online. And a big, big thanks to our media partners, Postimees, ERR News on the English side, globalestonian.com, and of course, Esto 2019, which is the World Festival for all Estonians abroad that's happening in Eesti this summer. The Tartu College and the Estonian Studies Center have also kindly agreed to sponsor our event today. And among us today here in Toronto, you don't see them online, but they're all here, are representatives from a number of organizations, including the Scouts and Guides. And Unapo is here. Thanks for being here. Agur, sorry, and Agur, vabandust. The Toronto Estonian Schools and Kindergarten, the Toronto Estonian Society, Metsa Ülikool, Estonian Foundation in Canada, SDocs, Eesti Kool, Aken, Tartu College, Toronto Baptisti Kirik, the Hamilton Estonian Society, Peetri Kirik, Vana Andrese Kirik, Akadeemiline Kodu, Seerioru lastelaager, Jõekäru lastelaager, Skautide Sõpruse Selts, Eesti Elu Ajaleht, Estonian World News, Majandusklubi, Friends of Estonian House, ETCU, Male Klubi, Toronto Eesti Püstoli Selts, and of course, the Estonian House. So, mille jaoks ma tahtsin kõiki neid nimetada, on näidata kõikidele Eestis ja ka kes on online, et meil on tõesti tegev ühiskond siin ja hästi palju organisatsioone. Nii, alustame. The rules for today's town hall. We'll begin our town hall with 4 questions, which the candidates will answer first in descending order based on the alphabetic order of their name, which will reverse for subsequent questions. Each candidate will have exactly 2 minutes to give their answer. A single bell will indicate when you have 20 seconds left, and a hard bell, which will be rung perhaps many times, will indicate when your 2 minutes are complete. Meil on 7 esindajat, nii et ma palun, et üle 2 minuti te ei lähe, kuna meie aeg on tõesti piiratud täna. In the second portion of our event, we will ask questions submitted by our Global Estonian audience, and we'll then take questions here in Toronto from the floor. So let's begin. Ladies and gentlemen, kaasmaalased. In 1994, academic Walter Rand wrote in Looming that around the world, there are thousands of places in the world where we can find Estonian homes, Estonian organizations, which have been created, and where people live Estonian lives. As a whole, Estonians have a global reach, he wrote, which is complicated, but will continue to live and touch all of our lives. He called this idea and identity the Global Estonian. There are 200,000 of us Estonians living outside the country and continue to maintain our heritage. Many, even most, will never return to live in Estonia. Our lives are established abroad. Our jobs and our families are rooted outside of Estonia, yet we remain Estonian. Me räägime eesti keelt oma kodudes, meie lapsed käivad Eesti koolides ja laagrites. We're proud of our heritage and maintain our identity as Estonians. Over the past years, the Estonian Central Council in Canada, along with our international partners, have advocated for greater cooperation and communication with the Estonian government to coordinate and help strengthen this global Estonian identity so that the 200,000 of us living abroad can work together and with those living in Estonia to create a stronger global nation. Some suggestions have been to introduce 1 or 2 seats in Riigikogu for the global Estonian community, a full minister or even ambassador who is dedicated to developing this identity and strengthening this bond might be considered. Urmas Reinsalu, as Andres mentioned earlier, this past summer successfully advocated for the creation of a standing committee on global Estonian cooperation, which should be chaired by the Prime Minister in the future. The globalestonian.com portal, which digitally brings together all Estonians around the world, and Esto 2019, Global Estonian Festival happening in Tartu, Helsinki, and Tallinn are tools that this government can also use. So I ask all of you, how important are we, these 200,000 Estonians, to the Estonian government, to its people, and to your parties? And if they are, how do you propose to engage with them and secure their global identity? First, Andres Herkel.
Thank you. It is a very important question. And first of all, I would like to thank you for this kind of discussion we have today. It is very important for all of us, I think, about the future of global Estonian identity. It is, of course, also the question of elections. And of course, like in many countries, the possibility you have special seats in the Riigikogu would be one of the solutions how you mobilize people and how you have global Estonians over the world, also in Estonian politics. But I am a bit skeptical because we asked exact data about how many Estonians abroad are voting on elections of Riigikogu, and it is quite not so good picture. Therefore, first of all, I think we must work very much with engaging people to go to vote and with having more, let's say, digital possibilities to be in the field of Estonian information society, to be in touch with our country. There is a lot to do. And the second very important question, of course, is how to facilitate the repatriation of Estonians who are living abroad, but possibly they want to be back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andres.
Yes, hello. In English, right?
Eesti keeles võid ka.
Well, let's start in English and let's see what's going to happen. I mean, obviously, this is not a question to be answered in 2 minutes, but I'll try my best. First of all, if you look at the Estonian nation, political nation today, it's clear that we have outgrown the traditional understanding of a nation state. I mean, our citizenship doesn't correspond to the territory any longer. We have a lot of citizens living everywhere, as you pointed out. So indeed, Estonia is a global nation, but as Andres Herkel pointed out, it's not quite yet a global nation politically because very few Estonians abroad actually participate in the political life. At least they do not really vote. So currently in the Estonian parliament, the diaspora vote is really marginal. It is definitely, at least in our party's view, it's in Estonia's interest to engage as much of the diaspora as possible. It's more in Estonia's interest than it is individually in anyone's interest who lives outside. So Estonia should be more active here rather than the diaspora. It's wonderful that you're doing this event, but in a way, it's the task, one of the tasks of Estonia, or it comes out of the constitution. The goal of Estonia is to to guarantee eternal growth of Estonia and the language and the culture. So what to do about it? The commission that Minister Reinsalu is proposing is a good idea, and we will support it, but I do not think that's enough. One sentence.
One sentence.
So what we really need is a diaspora electoral district, so that the diaspora Estonians will have their own representatives in the parliament.
Wonderful, thank you, Erik. So
that would solve the political issue, because that would make people active.
Yes, I would agree that an electoral district for the diaspora would be a good thing. But as you said, we all have a responsibility to go out and vote. Kõik peavad valima, kui te olete kodanikud, te peate valima. See on oluline, et te teete seda. Järgmiseks on Jaak Madison.
Thank you. Anyway, the first question is like, how many people will we have here who doesn't understand Estonian? Only you. Okay, anyway, if anyone's talking like in English, okay, I will continue. The first question was that how is the situation from the government side? I can't answer that because I'm not from the government yet. The second question was that maybe we should think about like some seats, 1 or 2 seats in the national parliament for the people abroad. It means that we have to change the constitution and we have to change the political system. I really don't believe in that, because like the citizens from the other countries, from Canada, US, or from Australia, can be candidates to the national elections. So now it's the question like, how much you want to be connected to the Estonian political system? Do you want to be the members of the political parties in Estonia? Do you want to be the candidates? And now it's the question about the communities. How much you want to support the candidates from your own community abroad, away from Estonia? This is the main question. And the third part is that, of course, everybody's talking about like citizenship and how to be more active. And I have to mention that even like in Estonia, in some regions in Estonia, we have maybe like 50% people who are going to vote. It's not very active. Officially, last elections, it was 63%. It means like 1 of 3 are not going to vote. So it's a problem everywhere in Estonia and abroad. And of course, finally, the main thing is that how much you feel the connection with your like home country from your parents, from your grandparents. And it's like the two-way roads. Estonia has to work to hold Estonians as close as possible to your own country. But of course, at the same time, I would like to see more like the young people, your grandchildren, your children, also here on the events. Unfortunately, I see mostly more well-experienced people in these events. Thank you.
So more younger people getting involved, and this is something that we have to actively work towards, absolutely. And if the Estonian government can help with that, we certainly would like to do that. Next up is Minister Sven Mikser.
Hello, a very good evening to everyone. It's a great pleasure to be a part of this town hall. I would say that this is one of the very rare occasions probably where I agree with Jaak Madison in that since the creation of a special election district would require changing the constitution, it's not likely to happen anytime soon. The Estonian expatriates played a very big role in, obviously, in our national politics during the occupation and in the early phases of the restored independence. And obviously, since then, well, the generation who was politically active during the occupation has grown somewhat older. The second and third generation expats have their own challenges maintaining and or reviving their Estonian language, which obviously is a very important part of our national identity. But the expatriate community has grown much more diverse. And there are many people who actually may one day return to Estonia, and there are commuting workers who haven't really made up their mind whether they are going to stay abroad forever or they intend to come back to Estonia at one point. I think also the issues that the Estonians in Canada and in the United States well face are quite different from those with which the Estonians who are living well in Russia or somewhere else in the world have to tackle every day. So I think that just a single MP in the parliament perhaps is not the way to try to resolve all those issues, but Estonia has created a unique platform for everyone to participate in our elections. Everyone who holds an Estonian ID card and holds Estonian citizenship can actually vote much more easily than most other expatriate communities can in our national elections. So I think that it's definitely possible, if that turnout among the 200,000 expatriate Estonians is sufficiently high, the possibility of influencing the political discourse in Estonia is actually very significant. So I really do add my voice to all those who have encouraged the expats to take part in the upcoming elections.
Aitäh, minister. Next is the Eesti 2000 candidate Meelis Niinepuu.
200.
200.
Thank you for that. Let's wait a little bit, then we'll some point we will talk about 2000 as well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Global Estonians. Very happy to be here. And firstly, I would like to comment. Last Leivat, you said that the purpose of the politician is to get re-elected. Quite the opposite when it comes to Estonia 200. Why we decided to come to the politics is exactly the opposite. We as doctors, entrepreneurs, and people from the everyday life, why we decided to come to the politics is exactly that we are seeing that too many people are rerunning for the 4th or 5th or 6th turn. And for Estonian democracy, we think it's not a sustainable way to do it. Secondly, about the Global Estonians, I tend to agree with Eerik-Niiles Kross about the separate electoral district. And I think it makes a lot of sense because of the complicated situation before every election that many Estonians abroad, they really do not know what they should do or where they should go and how they should elect. Secondly, I think what is important is how we raise the interest of the Global Estonians about the local issues anyway. And I think the Kaasmaalaste program has done a pretty good job. But if we look into this program, we see a lot of issues there as well. We see that some subcategories of the program does not work at all. Some are doing fine, but that there's a lack of funding. So I think first we would what we would need to do is raising the general interest, and when we are talking about repatriating or inviting them back home, then the key issue is what's the political situation in Estonia. So we would like to think of Estonia as a liberal democracy where Estonians would like to come back. And quite frankly, before these elections, I have learned from many of my friends abroad that it's becoming more and more tricky if they are looking at the polls and seeing the rise of some populist movement. So this is, I think,
it's getting trickier for those that want to move back to Estonia to do so for many reasons. That's probably something that the Estonian government should be looking more closely at, is how we can make that transition for those of us wanting to move back to Eesti, how to make that a little bit smoother. Thank you, Meelis.
Thank you.
Järgmiseks on minister Reinsalu.
Hello to everybody. My party's core mission is Estonia as a nation state. Estonia should remain a nation state also in future. And speaking about the support of to compatriots of Estonian diaspora, well, to be honest, I'm not satisfied with the level of ambition what we are having today. And that was the reason I echoed, actually, the Estonian World Council proposal that we should also have a certain umbrella cooperation forum. In one side, Estonian government institutions, and in other side, Estonian communities all over the world. And the first step of raising the political ambition is to execute that body. The second pillar, I believe, is in Estonian constitution, we have an ultimate demand that the Estonian state should do whatever is necessary of existence of Estonian nation. And that duty should cover also Estonian diaspora all over the globe. And in that sense, just some months ago, Latvian parliament passed a law which was dedicated to support of diaspora of Latvians, and by that gave also a clear political duty to Latvian authorities that this should be an active role, that no person living in diaspora should be out of chance of keeping the national roots. And that should be also our level of ambition. If we look to the Finns, speaking about the electoral activity, the Finnish diaspora votes about 10% of Finnish diaspora in parliamentary elections. Look to the Sweden, then about 40%. And what they did in Finland, they created a special body of ulkomaa suomalaisten parlamentti. And I think this is also a level we should move, that we should have a foreign Estonians parliamentary forum, which should be a global partner to Estonian state, parliament as government.
That's a wonderful idea. And again, I just want to that the committee that Urmas Reinsalu helped create is an interparliamentary committee. It means ministers from the government side and representatives from the largest community organizations around the world will sit together on this committee and discuss issues that are important to the Global Estonian community. Our final respondent to this question is Imre Soar, who, as we mentioned, is no stranger to our community here. Imre, your thoughts?
Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, Estonians around the globe. For you, it's afternoon there. And thank you for organizing this debate, as this is really feeling Estonia has become one, at least in the virtual space. I want to make one correction to the opening statement. I'm actually running as an independent candidate in the list of the Center Party, but I do have a mandate to represent their views within the framework of the election program. So Center Party has several points in their election program actually engaging Estonians living in the world and what we want to do in that respect. And the most important ones are that we want to strengthen the Estonian representation through better involvement of the Estonians living in abroad and engaging them on many different levels through the cultural diplomacy, as goodwill ambassadors, as activist volunteers, and also making it possible for them to use the Global Estonian network, promote their services, so it would be win-win situation, both sides. And therefore we have a special program that we want to create, which is Global Estonians. There have been bits and bytes created by different Estonian voluntary organizations around the world, but we see it as better involvement together with the Estonian state connected to e-Estonia and Estonia.ee, including the e-services and e-residents. So it's a comprehensive program that we want to bring to life to better involve all the Estonians living around the world and willing to contribute for the better development of the state of Estonia and representing Estonian interests in the world. Was there a bell? Difficult to hear.
There was a bell.
So I would conclude here. We would like to put forward several statements. We will come to them in the future in this debate as we go on. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that, Imre. And much to the credit of Prime Minister Ratas, he has accepted Urmas Reinsalu's idea for this parliamentary committee. It is important, I should mention, that that committee should fall under the direction of the Prime Minister. Right now, it's being dedicated to the Minister of Education, which is wonderful, but I don't believe, and I think the Estonian Central Council doesn't believe that this issue is an education issue. It is a whole it affects our entire nation as Estonians, and because of that, it should fall under the direction of the Prime Minister's office. I am now going to pass along the mic to my colleague Andres, who's going to talk a little bit and ask a question about foreign policy.
Thank you, Margus. Yes, we'll switch to global affairs from global Estonianism. And I think we've all observed in the last few years that the world has become a less predictable and less stable place than it was before. Now, Estonian foreign policy and security policy, just like Canadian foreign policy, has been a values-driven foreign policy. And as we all know, in diplomacy, there's always a balance between values and interests. But for small countries like Estonia, a small country like Canada, then the rules-based international system is very important for maintaining these values that we all share in common in this transatlantic family to which Canada and Estonia belong. But given then that the world has become less predictable and bigger powers are driven by interests, should there be a rethink in Estonian foreign and security policy in any way, from values-driven policy to a more interest-driven policy? So, Imre, we're going to go in the reverse order. So,
yeah, thank you, Andres. If you look at the Center Party's foreign policy section of the program, we actually do not see a major shift towards what you just said. We definitely support the strengthening of the connections with the EU, with our current policies, our partners in NATO, partners in European Union. We support the strengthening of the Estonian border and better control over immigration procedures and people who are coming in. We support the current migration policy. We support the anti-terrorism measures as they're ongoing. Strong partnership with Great Britain if they separate. We don't know that yet. I would say in conclusion that I do not see a major shift in Estonia's policy under the current Prime Minister, also looking forward to the next electoral period.
Okay, Imre, you're the first one who's actually spoken under 2 minutes. You didn't mention Russia, by the way.
I heard some bell, but maybe I was wrong. Talking about if I have a little more time, I will take the time, of course. We support that we should have good cooperation with all our neighbors, and we should have talks with all our neighbors. Without talking, there is no progress of any kind of diplomacy, including our eastern neighbor. So we should have the connections open, and we should not block anything by hoping that things will improve. Definitely, we admit the current situation has put in many ways a lot of insecurity. I'm talking about our eastern neighbor, has put a lot of security and insecurity in people's minds, but only by peaceful talks and dialogue is any kind of progress possible. So closing and encapsulating ourselves definitely doesn't take us any further.
Okay, thank you, Imre. Minister Reinsalu.
The most important danger to Estonian statehood is military and soft power possible attack by Russian Federation. By words of Yuri Uluots, Russia has attacked Estonian soil in history 40 times. And to interpret it, it could be only a matter of statistics, a try of 41st. So what we need to do is speaking about the interests and values of small state. So these are the same thing to me, because the most important interest and the most important value for a small state is its statehood, to keep its statehood. And therefore, I think the security interests, and surely belonging to a Western security community and sharp transatlantic ties are the utmost importance for us. And let me say that this is actually one very important issue. We need Estonian diaspora over Atlantic to make your congressmen in US soil and also your parliamentarians in Canada to be heard, to give a clear message that transatlantic security platform is very important, and also the electorate in their caucuses is waiting for that. And let me stress that, yes, we are going, this is one of the political consensus in Estonia. We are going to build a wall between Estonia and Russia. And we are going to do it actually about 2 times cheaper. I looked from the figures when Trump is planning to do.
Thank you, Urmas. Let's move on to Meelis Ninepuu from Eesti 200.
Yes, well, I think this topic is something that almost, I think we all agree on. I mean, maybe I could comment on the interest and values, since I'm not a professional politician. I mean, if you recall, the first country that recognized our independence was Iceland. In quite difficult circumstances, they had the courage to do that. And then, when the years passed, I recall the situation where the cabinet ministers met Dalai Lama somewhere in the corridors of the parliament. So it's like balancing between interest and values in a real world is a difficult topic, of course. But I mean, in general, in our understanding of foreign policy for Eesti 200 is quite simple. We have 2 main pillars. One is security, maintaining strong transatlantic ties, of course. And the second one that we would like to stress is our economic expansion and the growth of the national capital. If you look how Americans are doing diplomacy, then the last part is very strong that we are seeing. But in the Estonian diplomacy, the second part has not been historically very strong. I recall myself as an entrepreneur a few years ago. I turned to an embassy trying to get some help in a business issue, and they said that we are sorry. We are only dealing with diplomacy. So I think if we want to raise our economy and to expand, then we should also think in the context of foreign policy and diplomacy, also about the economic affairs. So 2 main strong pillars: right. Economic affairs and the defense issues.
Meelis, you brought in also the economic angle as well as an entrepreneur. Now let's turn to our foreign minister, Sven Mikser from the Social Democrats. And Sven, you will be actually presenting the foreign minister's annual report on Estonia's foreign policy to the parliament on Tuesday. Is that correct?
Indeed, that's going to be on Tuesday. But answering the question, Andres, I always find it somewhat ironic that people ask whether our foreign policy is driven by our values or our interest, and very rarely, if ever, the same question is asked about domestic policies. I think it should, perhaps. But really, when it comes to foreign policy and foreign and security issues, then I think that our interests are pretty much derived from our values. Andres mentioned rules-based international order. And I think that maintaining and strengthening the rules-based international order, the multilateralist world order, that's our primary interest, but it's very much values-based. And this actually goes both for security policy as well as for economic issues and foreign trade. It's very important for a small country such as Estonia that everyone plays by the same rules, that every player on the international scene basically complies with the basic norms of international law. And those who actually renege on their own commitments or break the rules are, well, pressured to bring them back to the fold. And also in foreign trade, I think it's very important that everyone plays by the rules. We Estonians are very much for free trade. It's only natural for a nation whose domestic market is 1 million people. And when everyone plays by the same rules, then I think that our business people, our business communities, in a very good position to actually also promote economic growth and prosperity for the whole of our nation. But all our foreign embassies or all our international delegations are tasked also with trade issues. It's just that since 2009, we agreed between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Economy that in those capitals, in those countries where Enterprise Estonia has their offices, it's Enterprise Estonia that will be dealing with or would be dealing with trade promotion and investment. But actually, each of our foreign embassies is tasked also with economic tasks.
All right, thank you, Sven. Now we'll turn to my neighbor here in Toronto, Jaak Madison from EKRE.
Thank you, Anders. Anyway, the real situation is that if the interests, as you mentioned, and the values are the same, everybody talking about values. And if they're not same, they're not talking anything. Okay, the mention about China was the real example. As Estonia, where we have about 1.3 million inhabitants living there, and if we're going to the conflict with China to protect the Tibet and Dalai Lama, we are losing anyway. And we are not changing the political situation in China, but we are losing. And that's the real political situation what we have. There are no values in this point. Values, we are of course on the defense policy. And now is the main question. You mentioned Russia. Somebody also mentioned Russia, that we need like diplomacy and like the open discussion. That's right. Of course we need to, but we also need to look on facts. We have to look on facts that Russia is occupying the part of Ukraine, part of the Crimea, part of Georgia. They are still like making very big exercises every year next to our border, actually next to our control line. As Mr. Rainsel mentioned, that we are building up also like the wall between Russia and Estonia. Actually, we are not building up that on the border, up that on the control line, because actually in the construct of Tartu Peace contract from 1920, from 99 years ago, on this construct, they're still occupying some territories of Estonia. And now if we're going forward about like security policy, about like the interests, there is very straight line. Our interest is good cooperation with the United States. It doesn't matter which kind of president they has. It doesn't matter, is it liberal, conservative, from the Republicans or Democrats. They are paying still 73% of the budget of the NATO. That's the fact. And if like the European Union and the Brussels trying to build up some kind of like the other ally in the European Union, it's the risk for our security policy and for the security policy between the United States and Estonia. So that's a real fact.
Thank you, Jaak. Let's move to Erik Kross from the Reform Party.
A lot what I would have said has already been said, so I have to agree with the two ministers that values and interests in the case of Estonia or pretty much any democratic small country are the same. Our interest is a value-based, rules-based, treaty-based international order. That's our best defense. But of course, our ultimate value is our freedom. And our policies need to be targeted towards that goal all the time. You can't, at the same time, you can't have a value-based foreign policy without actually having a genuine free society and democratic society back at home. And I agree with that as well, that we should also talk about domestic policy when we talk about foreign policy. In general, Estonia has been quite pretty much on the right course over the last 25 years. and I agree that none of the major political parties at those elections have anything in their programs that would change that course drastically. However, there are modalities. In our case, we are for stronger defense, more defense spending, hard security. We are very skeptical of Russia, unlike some others. But overall, Estonia, I think, if you look at the parliament now or the next parliament, is in pretty much good hands.
Thank you, Erik. Now let's move to our final candidate, Andres Herkel from Vabaerakond. And Andres, you've had a lot of experience, I gather, in the Council of Europe Parliamentary Assembly with exactly that question of values and interests.
Yeah, thank you. In Council of Europe, Russia is excluded. It is a shift I witnessed during the last years, but word is not changed so much. I think we still have our strong partnership on the level of EU, on the level of NATO. We must have cooperation with United States. Whoever is the president, regional cooperation with Nordic, Baltic, it has not changed so much, I think. And our first interest is still to maintain the values, to maintain democratic values, to keep on human rights, and also what is probably specific, to stay for the rights of the small nations all over the world. It is Tibetan question is also very, very important. It's a question about Russian Federation. After what happened in Georgia, what happened in Ukraine, in Crimea, etc., of course, it is a main security problem in our region and very important for us. It is also the question about cybersecurity. It is a question how to maintain the value and strongness of liberal values and democracy. And it is a basis where we are in completely different society living than Russian society is. And at the same time, we must support human rights defenders, journalists who are persecuted, etc. I think in our program, probably exactly the support of the small nations and to maintain democratic values is probably strong emphasis, but basically we are very much in the same line in the field of foreign policy. And to connect it with the first question we had, to have global Estonian influence in Estonian politics, it is one of the means to use our full potential in the field of foreign affairs, in the field of economy, everywhere. Therefore, I think it would be really very important to have you in Estonian elections, but the percentage less than 10% is not enough.
Okay.
If it would be 30%, then we would discuss about the special electoral district.
Okay. Thank you, Andres, and thank you to all the other candidates. And now we will shift back to Margus and his question.
So thank you, Andres. We'll shift back to the Global Estonian theme. And we were speaking about values. Often history and our experience abroad informs those values and helps shape them. As everyone knows who's watching and all the candidates, tens of thousands of Estonians fled their homeland in the fall of 1944, and they spread across the world, spreading the seeds of our global Estonian community. Our compatriots in Canada, the United States, Sweden, Australia, and beyond proudly built churches, schools, youth camps, cultural organizations, and of course the Esto festivals that not only served to sustain our heritage, but told our story to the communities that we lived in. Here in Canada, we're advocating for our local governments to include our history in school curriculums, and we continue to fight waves of disinformation originating from our eastern neighbor, which in Estonia, which actively deny our history, the Soviet occupation, and viciously mischaracterizes our fight for freedom, including the Metsavennad and those living abroad as often fascists. Would you, the candidates, support building greater understanding of our global community through history by ensuring its placement in Estonian school curriculum and reinforcing our historical narratives through wonderful initiatives that build on the recently constructed memorial for the victims of communism in Maarjamäe? And would you support the funding of the important Patarei Museum for the victims of communism that has even been publicly endorsed by Canadian politicians and senators? Andres Herkel, you are the first to hopefully respond to this question.
Yeah, thank you. It is a very complex question, and I experienced a lot of discussions on the questions like this. I think there's one more very important pillar, and it is a question about condemnation of the communist crimes in international level. We managed to pass very important resolutions in the level of European Parliament, also in the level of Council of Europe Parliamentary Assembly. It is step by step our everyday work to have this topic in the first place of our efforts, and we managed to have quite good success, but it is still the question. And of course, it is also the question of the difference of mentality between our values, our understanding of the world, our understanding of the human rights, and from other side, our eastern neighbor, Russia. And it is permanent question of information war between two countries, unfortunately, up to now, and also the question about history teaching in the schools. This is something we are dealing every day, let's say, in Estonia. And it is something with which we must deal on the international level as well. I think every kinds of museums, good memorial in Maarjamäe we have, are very good steps to have in the public room the same signs of history, and it is very important. But it is of course also the question about future of the school in Estonia. Would it be in Estonian, like many parties, including my party, are especially emphasizing during these elections today? Or the segregation on the level of school would continue? It is one of the most important questions for the future. You eliminate this gap of understandings within Estonian society. The gap of understandings between Estonia and Russian society, it would continue, and we must live with this. And this is, as I said, our everyday information war, unfortunately.
Aitäh, Andre. Erik Kross.
Well, you have all witnessed that Estonia and the other Baltic states and most of Eastern Europe has been in this sort of confrontation of narratives with Russia over the last 25 years, and it's actually intensifying. So telling our stories is incredibly important. It's part of the identity, and we wholeheartedly support all kinds of efforts in that area. Specifically about the museum in Patarei, it looks like a good project. I'm sure that we will support it, but more widely, we haven't done good enough job in telling our stories abroad. We face quite a lot of this attitude that, well, no one can understand us. Let's not talk about the past. Let's concentrate to the future. You can't build a strong future, or the future that we like, without remembering and without understanding and telling everybody where we come from. It's in a way, as you said, it's part of the hybrid war nowadays, and it's part of our defense. There is no other way, but we have to do it. As they say, you can't forgive anything before it's all properly remembered, rather than forgotten. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. You're absolutely right. We can't move forward without understanding our past, and that's something that we need to continue working on. Jaak Madison, teie mõtted?
all the political parties are supporting like the idea of the museum in the Patsarway. I think it's very necessary and good idea. But even more, I think we need two things. The first thing, we need even more cooperation between the Baltic states, because today, like for the last 27 years, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania is trying to make his own way, or like try to be separate. But this question on the global political level, even in the European Union or in NATO or in some other levels, in the Parliamentary Assembly, in the Council of Europe, you need those countries together to make this information projects, not war, maybe it's more correct to say, that what kind of things Russia has done in history, what they're still doing. Because if you're looking like, I think nobody will accept if like Germany will celebrate some kind of things from the history as Russia is doing today. Every year on 9th of May, they're celebrating the end of the war with the pictures of Stalin and Lenin with the red flags. And the leaders of the countries are going, yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah, let's celebrate together. Really? This kind of celebration means celebration for the occupation for the smaller countries, sending thousands of people to Siberia. And if you're trying to talk these kind of things like in the south of Europe, like in Greece or Italy, Spain, where they doesn't have this kind of feelings and connections from the history, doesn't understand that. And somehow it's normal. They can't understand that. But now is the main question, what we are doing for that they will understand. Also on a European level, that what's the political reality, what we will accept and what we will not accept. Today, too many countries, also in the European Union, is accepting the reality from Russia. And I think this is the thing where we have to cooperate together more with the Baltic states, with the Poland, with the Finland. And this is also like the negative thing, what we are not doing yet. Thanks.
Thank you, Jaak. I just, you mentioned May 9th and the celebrations that happen. This is happening in Canada as well.
Oh yeah, that's very bad.
There are significant resources that are being poured into our country. And on every May 9th, there are red flags that fly at a park in Toronto named Earl Bales Park. There are even the flags of Estonian occupation, so of the Estonian SSR. I don't even know where you would find such an item in Toronto, but there they are every single year with even children dressed in Red Army soldier uniforms, and so it's a significant problem. Next, I would ask Minister Sven Mikser to comment on that question.
Thank you. There were actually several questions. The first one, the part of the expatriate community and Estonians abroad in Estonian history. Well, we just last year celebrated not only the centenary of the Republic of Estonia, but also the 100th anniversary of the creation of Estonian Foreign Ministry, which is the only government agency that actually has worked through the century without any interruption. And for half a century, Estonian diplomats worked abroad. And actually, it was the work of Estonian diplomats and obviously the work of the Estonian communities abroad that made it possible for us to restore our independent statehood on the basis of legal continuity. So obviously, the story of the expatriate community, the story of Estonians abroad, is an integral part of Estonian historical narrative, and it should be taught in school curricula as such. And that's, I think, something that everyone agrees. Now on the informational battlefield, obviously, Russia, and there are also other malign players on the global scene, will continue their efforts to discredit our history, discredit our historical narrative, and we should fight it back. Obviously, we should not revisit some of the battles that we already have decisively won. Our independence, our restored independence on basis of legal continuity has been recognized by the whole of democratic world. So I think that we have won a victory here. But obviously the attempts to depict Estonians as sort of Nazi collaborators or whatnot, these efforts will continue, and we should fight back decisively. Fortunately, I think Russia has occasionally also overplayed the hand in that they have open fronts all over the world, in Western democracies, in the United States and Canada, but also in Western Europe. So the awareness of Russian propaganda efforts is today, I think, on the global scene much, much better than it was just 5 or 10 years ago. So if we want to see something positive in this sort of resurgent imperialism that we see, you know, in the Kremlin. Well, the fact is that actually the understanding of what this regime is about, but particularly on the informational landscape and in propaganda warfare, I think it's actually much better than it was just a few years ago.
Thank you, Minister. We are definitely in Canada under constant bombardment by this sort of disinformation. So I think we do need to work together a little bit more closely with our Baltic colleagues and certainly other communities from the Central and Eastern European communities to fight back against it. So thank you for that. Meelis Niinepuu, your thoughts?
Yes, well, part of my voluntary work aside of my daily work in the private sector is being a chairman of the Council of the Estonian Institute of Memory. And since we are developing the Patarei project, I'm of course in favor of it. But what I would like to say here is, and you won't find it in Eesti 200 program for a very practical reason. A few months ago, I started lobbying work with all other parties to put them to their programs, and I was quite successful. I mean, the long supporter of the project is of course Urmas Reinsalu, but also others followed. For example, Center Party. If you look to their program, you can find the Patarei project is also in their plans, and I would like to thank also others who are supporting now the project. I think storytelling is a modern day monument, and this kind of museums are modern day monuments. And in addition to that, I think we Global Estonians, we have a lot of potential here. I mean, 10 years ago, I found about this book, Sailing to Freedom by Voldemar Veedam and Carl B. Wall, which is the greatest story of Global Estonians, translated into 30 different languages in the 50s. We republished it by the Estonian Institute of Memory. And that kind of storytelling is something that the Global Estonians and also the people in Canada, United States, and Australia should do, and where also the government could support. And in addition to books, I think what we need, or what we lack rather, is a category Hollywood movie about our history. Ukrainians, Lithuanians now, and English language, they have succeeded, and still are waiting for our chance. So I think the storytelling is everything.
Absolutely, I have a copy of that book, and I would recommend if you can get your hands on it, you should get that. Sailing to Freedom. It's a wonderful book. Thank you, Meelis. Minister Urmas Reinsalu, your thoughts?
The fight for history is still going very vitally on, and there is very much to do. When Estonia held its EU presidency, I made also presidency event to call a conference on communist crimes. And Eastern European countries attended, but not Western European ones. And also several times I have asked to Tallinn to gather European Union ministers of justice in these issues, to address these issues. But actually, this is an issue which is understood by momentum for these who have passed it by themselves. And this is actually a signal that there are Europe is still divided by history. The second issue about the idea of museum in Patarei prison, we should understand that our level of protection should be not only a museum of Estonian painful history, but it should be a global comparative museum as a unique one, as such, what doesn't exist in a planet, a comparative museum of communist crimes, horrors. And therefore, I'm happy that also by my suggestion, that idea has been held also support by current government. And I think it should be not a party political issue, but a national consensus project. And what we need to do is surely we should put Estonian, as a part of Estonian history, also a history of painful past. We should not be afraid of that. And to tell and not to deny our history. Our men who fought by call of Jüri Uluots, our former prime minister, were freedom fighters, not Nazis, in Sinimäed in 1944. And that should be also a part of our historic narrative, and we should explain it to our friends, and because our enemies will have a counter-narrative anyhow. And what is very important is also that we should continue a cooperation between Baltic ministers of justice in issue of responsibility of Russian Federation as an legal successor of occupant country Soviet Union. This responsibility under international law should be also addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Reinsalu. It's very important that you mentioned that the initiative to find some accountability for the occupation of the Baltic states and specifically Estonia. It's a very important one. Imre Sooäär, please.
Yes, thank you, and thank you, Meelis Niinepuu, for complementing the Central Party's program. Yes, we strongly encourage the history education and research, which helps to raise awareness of Estonia's recent past and bring the members of society together in common memories and in common values. We support the maintenance and use of important historic monuments, memory sites, you can say, in Estonia for the benefit of the state and local communities, and to leave them in the public interest, culture, and on the educational field. In regards of the precious Patarei complex, yes, it's also in our program, and we want to find a worthy usage of Patarei's complex. We consider it important to stop the destruction of the valuable historic building complex, and we support to leave the complex as well as the seafront and the area for the public use. Also, you mentioned the occupation victims monument in Maarjamäe. It's a great example that history and the memory matters to the current government, and in the view of the Centre Party, it should also matter to the next government. And the last comment, it's important that the educational programs also include the history of our communities in the world as well. And by the way, Sailing to Freedom is a great book. I've read that. I recommend it to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Imre, and thank you for supporting, including our history in Estonian school curriculum. Thank you to all of you for your responses. I am going to now give it back to Andres, who will ask the fourth and final question in this portion of the town hall. We'll then move on to some emailed questions, and then we'll take questions from the floor.
All right, I'll ask a question which is future-oriented. I'll ask all of the candidates, what is the vision of their party for Estonia 10 years from now? What would be Estonia's place in a changing world? What will Estonian society look like? We know that it's a nation state now. How will integration of minorities go forward? And looking at society, I'm also painfully aware that our panel here is a completely male panel, and that perhaps there might be some progress in that direction as well. So I'd like the position of all of your parties, and we'll go in the reverse order again. So Imre.
Yes, thank you. Well, it's actually such a complex question that we would need minimum half an hour to go through, because every single word that you said needs a very long explanation. But definitely, where do we see ourselves 10 years from now? It is definitely a member of the international community, stronger member even than now, relying on our partners, as I already said earlier. For the Centre Party, the prime goal is to strengthen the Estonia's membership of the international organizations, including NATO, European Union, and our main foreign and security policy goal is to secure freedom and independence of Estonia. This is the prime goal. Of course, the Estonian constitution, the rule of law, to secure the well-being of our citizens. in a nutshell. But if you go into more detailed level, then we go into the program parts that we have 50 pages of in our program, and we would have to take step by step, and I would definitely not fit it into the 2 minutes given to me. What I see is we have to think bigger. We have to think global and go back to the Lennart Meri's words, which is, if we don't dream big, we don't get anywhere. We have to dare to dream, and I think the time is over when we think that our state is ready, and from now on, it's tiny, minuscule improvements we can do. We have to think bold, and we have to dare to go beyond the borders and include Estonian community in the world. It's 1/5 of Estonians that are living abroad. It can be a great help to build us globally and to secure us globally and to make us visible. Thank you.
Thank you, Imre. It's a purposefully broad question which will allow the candidates to focus in on the areas that they might want to emphasize and thus show the differences in their party positions to help us make our selections when we go to vote. So, Minister Reinsalu.
I think in 10 years, Estonia has remained a nation state. It means one of the key pillars for that policy is indeed that universal education in public schools in Estonia is fully in Estonian language, and very important that we control migration. In Estonia, we have only 2/3 of our small nation Estonians, and I think this is very important, that Estonians never should be a minority in Estonian soil, and this is actually a core policy of my party. And one thing is indeed, in 10 years we will have a stronger army, and very important that in 10 years we have succeeded to build up a strong, supportive diaspora policy, that all Estonians all over the world know that there is a loving mother Estonia waiting for them, either returning or having their creations wherever in planet they have decided a place of living. And this is actually a sentiment and mood of optimism is very important for a proud patriotism. And therefore, I believe I'm optimistic about the Estonian vision in the sense of mentality. And this is very important, that we will not make fool mistakes. For big countries, mistakes are always repairable. For small countries, they could be fatal ones. So very important is during that decade not to make mistakes, fatal mistakes.
Aitäh, Urmas. Moving on to Meelis from Eesti 2.
Yes. So 10 years is for us, it would mean 2.5 terms, and we'll manage to do quite a lot. We'll start right away with the red tape and bureaucracy, and start with the state reform. And within 10 years, we would be able to reform our educational and social system, which is today is being run like in some bigger country. We have 79 different municipalities running their own social systems and educational systems. What is the result? The result is that you have a educational segregation by zip code. So if your zip code is a wrong one, then we are sorry, your child is not getting education that is comparable to, let's say, Tallinn. So this is done by that time. We'll have a good quality educational system, and also the social system. Also, we are since a majority of our candidates, I would say even 33 are entrepreneurs, then we are doing a lot of things also for the economy. We are talking about year 2000. 2024 probably will have 50% of the pension funds being invested to the Estonian economy for growing our own national champions. Today we are moving roughly 400 million euros annually outside the country, so which doesn't make sense. And also by 2025 we should be able to onboard the train from Tallinn to Riga. Rail Baltica should be there. We should have much more connections, international connections, and we should also have 2+2 highways
right.
and a zero frontal collision in our roads.
Big plans, lots of focus on economic development. Good. Let's move to Foreign Minister Mikser, representing the Social Democrats.
Well, it's probably going to be impossible to give you an exhaustive list of things that Social Democrats want to do during the next 10 years in Estonia. But I would say that in 10 years, Estonia will still be a liberal democracy, will be a proud member of the community of democratic nations, will be a member of the European Union and NATO, will continue to promote those democratic ideals worldwide. I very much hope that Estonia will have moved up in the global value chain. There will be more trademarks, more patents owned by Estonian companies, Estonian businesses. That will obviously make the whole society more prosperous. Estonia will be an inclusive, liberal, tolerant society, which I also believe is essential for economic performance and strong economic performance and development. So I think that we have made an enormous progress. I think we can really justly be proud of what we have achieved during the first 100 years of Estonian statehood, and also what we have achieved after the restoration of independence. Well, I believe that we can continue that on that proud path and not make any fatal mistakes, as one of my colleagues earlier said.
Aitäh, Sven. Let's move to my neighbor, Jaak Madison, representing EKRE.
Well, thank you. Anyway, like in 10 years, it's a long way to go anyway, and we can look in an ideal way how it will go, but on the same way we have to look on the facts that we are not so positive. The one thing, of course, all the MPs or the members in the government has to follow the constitution, what says that Estonia is national state and has to stay as a national state. In the world, we have over 7 billion people. In Estonia, there are living only 970,000 Estonians. So nobody other cares about Estonia or Estonian nation. Only we have to do it. It means that also Estonia has to care about Estonians abroad. It means we need connection with Estonians in Canada, US, also in Crimea, in Ukraine, in Russia, in Australia, and to give this possibility for the young Estonians abroad to come back to Estonia if they want. They have these possibilities, they have language, they have this cultural feeling and this connection. Second is, of course, the defense questions. We see today that probably in the next 10 or 5 years, there's coming anyway some kind of more misunderstanding and different ways for the US and European Union. We see it even today where the France and Germany is trying to cooperate more together against America in NATO. And of course, there is a risk for Estonia. So the main thing is we need to build up the real defense system, as also Mr. Rainsel mentioned. And it means we need strong NATO with a strong United States. And of course, we need self-defense system strong. Today, we are taking only 30% of the young men to the army service. In Finland, they are taking 80%. That's the problem. In Estonia, we have defense league, but we don't have enough men in a defense league. I'm the member there, but we need more. So we have about 15,000 active members. We have about 600,000 men in Estonia. That's the problem. If we are not defending ourselves, nobody else is doing. Thanks.
Aitäh, Jaak. Erik, from the Reform Party.
Yes, it's I have a little bit of the same problem that in 2 minutes,
pick and
10
choose,
years, and the whole program. So I'm gonna use this 2 minutes to throwing out a few a little bit funny goals that might describe what kind of Estonia we would like to have. First of all, education. The biggest challenge for Estonian society right now is the Russian and the differences between Russian language, Estonian language education. In 10 years, we should achieve common education in Estonian language to everyone. Our Russians will speak Estonian as well as Estonians. We should become a tech leader, at least in Europe, in certain areas. By that time, I hope Estonia has successfully transferred from a subcontracting economy that we still are into a technology owning company. And that's the biggest challenge of economy right now. And we should still be one of the best business climates in Europe. We are losing that a little bit right now. Internationally, of course, Estonia will be a member of NATO. We should aim to have an Estonian as the NATO Secretary General by then, and possibly Estonia should lead the negotiations of Britain returning to the EU around that time. We should develop by that time a real independent defense capability, because we can't be sure that we can do it with NATO, as we know, but we will do all in our capabilities to keep NATO intact. I guess I heard the bell, right?
That's right. Erik, I really like that visionary point of Estonia leading the negotiations to bring Britain back into the EU, because I remember when you were setting up the Estonian embassy in London when I was there back in the 90s. Right. So we'll go to our final speaker for this round, Andres Herkel.
Thank you, Andres. I think after 10 years, Estonia, of course, would be national state. It is our future, and no question at all. We are continuing in the same international organizations as well. I mean, European Union, NATO. It would be important for us. What would be changed globally, I hope, is that if we see currently the anti-democratic wave in the many of the countries, Russian Federation, Turkey, etc., then I think after 10 years it would be changed, and there would be new wave of freedom and democracy, which means also much better, more active civil society. Of course, in Estonia as well, including Global Estonian Society, and all we spoke in the beginning of this debate, you would be engaged in Estonian politics as well. Of course, very important question is not just the economy, better environment, and of course, education. Yes, it would be in Estonian language, and as Mr. Kross said, and with much better standards. And the last question about current fears, the question of migration, I think that we would manage to not to repeat the mistakes what Germany did, what Sweden did, and in other countries we would be, in this sense, quite conservative, but at the same time, with whole democratic liberal standards.
Thank you, Andres, and thank you, gentlemen, for those comments. I'm very encouraged that all of you were very optimistic about Estonia's future, and I think we're all glad for that. And now I will hand over to Margus.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Now we're going to take some questions that have been sent in via email. There have been a whole pile of them. So I'm going to focus on two of them. One is from Leni, who's a woman who lives in Sweden. She wrote, Eesti keeles, kas Tartu rahulepingu 4. artikli alusel Eesti kodakondsuse opteeritute järglastel on õigus saada Eesti kodakondsus sünniga, sõltumata sellest, kuhu riiki saatus neid on jätnud või viinud? So I think the question should also include perhaps your party's position on dual citizenship. And then we have another question here. About language. Are Estonians in the diaspora who do not speak Estonian enough? Should someone of Estonian heritage living in Canada, or United States, Australia, or elsewhere who does not speak Estonian call themselves an Estonian? So 2 questions. And we'll begin again from the top of our list. Andres Herkel, palun.
First of all, double citizenship. It is also connected with last question. I think after 10 years we would have certain kind of double citizenship with regards of the countries which are members of EU, which are members of NATO, or which are simply part of the democratic world. It is also a very important question of the future of global Estonianism, and so far I think it would be important for us. About language was the second question. Of course, if you are Estonian citizens and you lost your language, you still would be the Estonian citizens. In the history, Estonian identity, yes, was very much based on the language. And if you lose the language, you would lose your identity. It was, and it is, unfortunately, very, very strong element, but we should have this possibility to have also descendants of Estonians, even if they lose Estonian language, to be part of our global society. I think it must be the future. And the concrete question of citizenship, of course, it must be resolved on the basis of goodwill, but not on the basis of this kind of very formalistic approach we experienced in the level of the Ministry of Interior Ministry with regards of some of our compatriots.
Wonderful, thank you, Andres. Our identity isn't necessarily dependent on our knowledge of language. Is that your position?
My position is that yes, in the history and up to now, very much our identity is based on language. But if the question was whether Estonian descendants who does not speak Estonian language are in the future part of our society, then my answer would be hopefully yes.
Hopefully yes. Wonderful. Eerik-Niiles Kross, Reformierakond.
There were several questions. The first one was actually about the Tartu Peace Treaty and the optandid, particularly from Russia, who didn't return, and do they have still have their right to citizenship by birth, or their descendants? Our view is that in case of Russia, this right has expired. If they didn't return during 1 year after 1920, before the war, they could still return sometimes. But if they didn't return after 91, now it's 25 years later. So in case of Russia, I think it is expired. Regarding other Estonians from Georgia and Ukraine, it's more complicated. Possibly they have the right, we can legally argue that. But dual citizenship, the Reform Party actually tabled a draft law last year proposing to allow explicitly dual citizenship for Estonians living in democratic countries, NATO countries, EU member countries. Unfortunately, the current government didn't support that law, so we still do not have it, but we are, of course, still supporting this and will continue to try to get it legalized. Are the Estonians who do not speak Estonian, who are legally Estonian citizens, still part of Estonian society, and to what extent? I mean, that depends on all of us. It depends on how well the Estonian state will engage the diaspora. So I agree with Andres Herkel. Hopefully, yes, but we all need to be more active on engaging them.
Thank you, Erik. It's definitely an important question for us here living in Canada, the dual citizenship question. And just to clarify, so you would support dual citizenship for EU and NATO countries, those citizens living there, is that right?
And possibly some others like Australia or Japan.
Okay. Thank you. Next, Jaak Madison.
Thank you. Anyway, because the first question from the lady from Sweden was in Estonian, so we'll answer in Estonian because we're talking only in English today here. Mis puudutab Tartu rahulepingut, siis Eesti õiguse järgi me oleme tunnistanud Tartu rahulepingut alati kehtivana. Seetõttu ma ennem ka mainisin, mis puudutab Eesti territoriaalset terviklikkust, piiri ja kontrolljoond, siis selle lepingu alusel jätkuvalt 5,2% Eesti pindalast ei ole Eesti haldusalas ja see on okupeeritud Venemaa Föderatsiooni poolt. Me lähtume Tartu rahulepingust ka kodakondsuse määramisel ja Tartu rahulepingus oli väga selgelt öeldud. Kui inimene lahkub 1 aasta jooksul Nõukogude Liidu piiridest, on tal õigus sünnijärgsele Eesti kodakondsusele. See oli kirjas. Paraku eelmise aasta kevadel Eesti Riigikohus tegi otsuse, et näiteks eestlastel Abhaasias ei ole õigust sellele kodakondsusele, kuna nad ei tulnud tagasi Eestisse, millest ei ole mitte ühtegi sõna Tartu rahulepingus. Ja see on probleem meie jaoks. Ehk kui me järgime Tartu rahulepingut, siis nendel inimestel on õigus sünnijärgsele kodakondsusele ja punkt. Seetõttu ma väga loodan, et lähiajal see küsimus jõuab uuesti kohtusse ja võetakse aluseks ka Tartu rahuleping ja ei tõlgendata seda nii, et see inimene ei tulnud tagasi Eestisse, vaid ta lahkus Nõukogude Liidust. Mis puudutab topeltkodakondsust, siis me ei toeta seda. Ma sel teemal debateerisin ka eelmise aasta mais New Yorgis Eesti majas. Ma saan inimlikult aru inimestest, kes elavad USA-s, Kanadas, Austraalias, et kui nende lapsed saavad 18, nad peavad valima kodakondsuse, kas Eesti või siis Ameerika kodakondsuse. Inimlikult see on mõistetav, kuid kui ma võtan riigi positsiooni, siis kus on see piir, kus me tõmbame, millistele riikidele me lubame ja millistele mitte. Meil on Eesti Vabariigis 80 000 Venemaa Föderatsiooni kodanikku. Ja kui mingitel valimistel näiteks võidab Keskerakond, kellel on ühtse Venemaaga Putini parteiga sõprusleping, öeldakse, et aga miks Venemaa meile vaenulik riik? Me vajame lähemaid suhteid. Miks me võiks lubada topeltkodakondsust ka Venemaa Föderatsiooni kodanikele? Seetõttu kõikidel, ma kohe lõpetan, kõikidel nendel Eesti lastel, kes sünnivad Kanadas, Ameerika Ühendriikides, on õigus sünnijärgsele kodakondsusele. Kui nad otsustavad näiteks 30 aastaselt tagasi pöörduda Eestisse, nad saavad selle kodakondsuse. Selleks ei ole vaja topeltkodakondsust. Ja keele kohta, kas ma jõuan vastata? Okay, thank you. Because of it in English anyway. The main question is like, if at least one parent is Estonian citizen, so this person are still with Estonian citizenship, even if he or she is not talking Estonian. But if she or he is asking about like the identity as a nationality, of course, all nationalities are based by the language. And now is the main question for this person who doesn't speak Estonian. Do you feel as Estonian or not? Because like legally, you can be Estonian citizenship. You can be like citizen of Estonia, of course. But do you feel as Estonian, as a part of the nationality? That's the main question. So I would like to say that the base of the identity is language. And I really hope that all the parents are working with that at homes to give this Estonian language also to their children and grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaak. We're certainly trying to do that here. And as difficult as it may be, the numbers are at least in our children's camps and schools are actually growing. So that's a very positive sign. Foreign Minister Mikser, your thoughts on these questions?
Thank you. A lot has been already said on the issue of those Estonians or the citizenship and Tartu Peace Treaty. Well, basically, there have been a couple of headline-grabbing incidents recently where the people who were recognized as Estonian citizens by birth were suddenly denied the extension of the passports because the apparently the government or some people at the government ministry recognized that they had made a mistake in interpreting the law earlier. I think in all such instances, obviously, the government should admit that it has made a mistake, but the situation should be interpreted in such a way as to extend the citizenship and the passport. I think an individual should not pay for the mistakes made by the government. Well, when it comes to the identity, well, obviously, I mean, anyone who has Estonian descent, and even if he or she doesn't speak Estonian language anymore, well, we cannot deny anyone the right to call themselves Estonians. But obviously, the Estonian government should encourage and also provide ways and means for those people to learn Estonian. And the Ministry of Education and Science, they already have programs and finances that are foreseen for exactly that purpose. And we should encourage those people to build closer links to Estonia and also revive their language skills. So in the case of second and third generation expatriates to make effort to learn Estonian language. There was a third question that was.
Yeah, aitäh selle eest.
There was a third question that
I think that was it. I mean, there was dual citizenship. And language identity.
Just a couple of sentences. Well,
yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
There have been several proposals. Well, one is to restrict the list of countries whose citizens would be eligible to hold a Estonian passport alongside the other passport. It's also been proposed that perhaps citizens by birth should be able to enjoy dual citizenship and natural citizens not. And also there has been a proposal that perhaps those who hold a certain passport could apply for a second citizenship, but not the other way around. But I think that while we cannot escape discussing this issue, we should avoid making a decision in a hurry, because obviously no one wants to promote the idea that we should allow dual citizenship for all countries, including Russia. But at the same time, we don't want to change this very important conservative foundation of our citizenship law in such a way as to set back our domestic integration efforts by many years.
No, certainly we have to be very careful about it, and at least from the Canadian and American context, and Australian and Swedish, I think it's important to allow that dual citizenship. I think the more of us there are, the better. I mean, with that comes responsibilities. Even with our youth serving with the Estonian Army, there are certainly ways that we should maybe start looking at how our youth, our younger citizens abroad, can start helping Estonia as part of their citizenship. Thank you for that, Minister. Meelis Niinepuu, Eesti 200, mitte 2000.
Yes, Markus, you just gave my speech. So we are in favor of dual citizenship by birth, and for the same reasons what you're saying, that if there's a half of Tallinn outside in the world, global Estonians, I mean 200,000 people, and if we want to get them back, I mean this is not good policy to start talking about not allowing dual citizenship. Where I'm a little bit worried is double standards. I mean, if I'm looking at the numbers, then I'm seeing that the highest number of global Estonians actually live in Russia, then in Finland and Sweden, and then US, Canada, etc. So we need to be quite careful here. I mean, we recently had this situation with Abkhazia, where you have like 250 people, and basically we are treating them as they were part of Russia. So I mean, this is something where we would need to be careful, because and also, by the way, even nowadays in Russia they have internet, and they probably are watching this broadcast right now. So
good point.
These times are over now, where we speaking of global Estonians, we only speak about the people who live in the West. So this is something where we would need to continue discussions. By the way, if you remember, the Kaasmaalaste program was invented for Estonians who are living in the east, and then expanded 5 or 6 years. I think 2004 it was invented for the east, and then 2008 it was broadened for the western diaspora. So it's this double standards is something that I'm a little bit worried, and we would need to find a clever solution here, because in the perspective of global Estonians, they are all important.
You bring up Rahvakoosolek program. So this is our compatriots program, which is very actually Russian sounding compatriots program. But it is very important, and it does require some reform. I think there's more input maybe needed from the diaspora into that organization. So there's a bit more understanding of what our needs are and what we're doing here as far as our community programming is concerned. Minister Urmas Reinsalu Isamaa jaoks, palun.
Tartu Peace Treaty was signed between Soviet Russia and Estonia. So it means the obligation to opt into Estonia is occurring only to the residents and then their relatives from the counterpart of Tartu Peace Treaty. It means Russian Federation. Abkhazian Estonians, from the understanding and legalistic understanding from the point of Minister of Justice viewpoint, are Estonian citizens by birth, because they belong to were under the independent Georgia country by that time. So this is a dispute going on between Minister of Justice, Minister of Interior. We are interpreting the Tartu Peace Treaty and current law on citizenship in another way. The second issue about the double citizenship, I believe that the most important issue in that case is to understand that in Estonian soil, the Estonian citizenship, is a question of political power. And if we are speaking about the double citizenship, so I'm rather suspicious that if we are going to establish a certain limited legal ground for that we could be managed to keep it as a firewall, which will be eternally waterproof. And in that sense, let me say that if we're speaking about the possible double citizenship of Russian Federation citizens and Estonian citizenship, it could mean that in Narva, we are going to have about 90% of our inhabitants as Russian citizenship, and in Tallinn, about 50 or more % of Tallinn inhabitants as Russian citizenship people. And we need to understand, I understand the sentiment of people who are living abroad. And let me stress that my party has a clear view that from no person, either young or adult, should not be taken away Estonian citizenship, what belongs to them by birth. Speaking about the theological question, whether a person who doesn't understand Estonian can name him or her Estonian, how we handle a person who is not aware of his Estonian roots? Could we name him or her Estonian or not? I believe this is, of course, an issue what we need to address, a language. And by my proposal, we now are having in Estonia, and there's a problem of Estonian language also for foreigners returning or coming to Estonia, or also people living permanently in Estonia. We are established a project of Estonian language houses in Narva and Tallinn this year. And I think this project of Estonian language houses, where you could have a free of charge, different portfolio chances to learn Estonian, I think this is something under the cooperation we should also export all over the globe. So in Estonian soil and also abroad, Estonian language should not be deficit. Thank you.
Yes, that's a wonderful idea. And I think this is an issue that really belongs to the new parliamentary committee that you and it's a topic of discussion for that committee as to the role of language and such. Imre Soer, palun.
Thank you, Margus. Now, first and foremost, we want to abolish the incompatibility of the Citizenship Act with the Constitution of the Republic of Estonia, which says no Estonian citizenship acquired by birth shall be taken away from anyone. So all descendants of the Estonians as citizens by birth should be able to retain their citizenship according to the Estonian Constitution. Secondly, we actually promise not only dual citizenship, but multinational citizenship with the European Union and the European Free Trade Association countries. For instance, the mother is born in Estonia, father in Sweden, but children are born in Belgium. 3 countries are involved. We have also several proposals in our program regarding the learning of the Estonian language. One is that we want to offer free online language lessons to all the people in the world, not only Estonians, but to everybody on this planet who is interested of the Estonian language and culture. And it's essential to keep our language alive on this planet. So our plan is to make an Estonian language learning app offered by the state for free, similar to an Estonian company, Linguist or Rosetta Stone, or Duolingo or other popular language learning programs. And anybody could download this app in the world and learn Estonian language. I'm sure that all the Estonians in Toronto know how difficult it is to have their children going to Estonian school and actually acquire the Estonian language. So, but the young generation, I think, would embrace it well to have the phone that they anyway have every moment in their hand, teaching them also Estonian. Thank you.
Thank you, Imre. I know my own children, if they had an app that was forcing them to learn Estonian, I'm not so sure that they'd use it all the time. I think instead, I would encourage Estonian families to speak Estonian at home as much as possible and with each other. I think that's the way that we help grow the language, and I think we're doing a pretty good job here in Toronto right now. So now we're going to move into the final section of our event, which is going to be taking some questions from the floor. We don't have too much time left. I hope everyone can stay on the line for a few more minutes. We're going to take a group of 3 or 4 questions, and we'll allow everyone to answer them again, going backwards, starting from Imre and going back to Andres Herkel. So if you could raise your hands if you have questions, and I'm going to take 3. There's Matti here, there's Ellen, and Veiko. Okay, alustame Mattiga, and I'm going to hold the mic, if you don't mind, because we're not making statements, we're asking questions, right? Thank you.
Well, my question might be a little longer than the answer. Speaking as an experienced Estonian, as I heard from a candidate that I will remain unnamed, who's to my right, just a yes or no answer. Are you willing to support educational funding in Eesti that talks about or speaks about in some detail about the diaspora? Because I think that's very important. We meet eestlased in the United States all the time, and some of them are unaware of why my parents came to the United States, how some of them prior came to the United States, and some after. And if it's just simple yes or no would be fine. And then
great. So that reflects sort of a little bit of what we were talking about earlier, which was including the history of the diaspora in Estonian school curriculum. And I'm going to now walk back over here. And Ellen Valter.
Ma kardan, et mul on rohkem kommentaare kui küsimusi, aga ma proovin sõnastada küsimuseks 2 mätta otsast. Esimene on see, in English, something that has gone through the, eesti keeles võib ka, et mis on meedias kajastatud, on pangandusprotsendid ja need kasumid ja värgid, mis Eestist lahkuvad. Et meil on Torontos selline asi kui Toronto Eesti Ühispank, mille reguleerimine võimaldab meil kogukonda toetada ja nende kasumid, muidugi see on seadusandlusest tuleneb, aga et ma soovitaksin väga, et mitte ainult ei me trambiks jalgu siin ja loodaks, et Eesti riik meid toetab, aga palun julgustan teid, et võib-olla meil on ka teile midagi pakkuda, kuidas meie oleme siin oma asju organiseerinud. Teine mätas on see, jah, Imre, dream big.
Okay, Merli Tamtik.
Kui Eesti poliitikud tutvustavad Eestit väljapool Eestit, siis me kuuleme alati e-riigi edulugu, me kuuleme e-valimistest, käiakse välja Skype'i trumpkaart. Kõikide nende asjade taga on teadussaavutused ja ma arvan, et Eesti siht edasi olekski teadmistepõhine majandus, teadmistepõhine ettevõtlus, teadmistepõhine innovatsioon. Palun öelge üks konkreetne samm, mida teie partei võtaks ette teadusrahastuse tõstmiseks Eestis, et meil oleksid maailmatasemel ülikoolid, kuhu tuleksid noored ja tuleksid teadlased ja viiksid edasi Eesti majandust.
Aitäh, Merli. Ja Veiko Parming.
Aitäh. I would like to return to a question that was posed right in the first round of questions, which is how can we get more Estonians, especially young Estonians, to move back to Estonia or to live there for some period of time. My own experience going to ajateenistus in Eesti was that I had to go and seek out a lot of the information on my own. It wasn't necessarily readily available. My sister went to do a year in Tartu Ülikool and she had a little bit more information there. But overall, I would say the programs that we've had in Eesti in that vein have maybe not been as ambitious as, for example, what the Jewish community has with Birthright in Israel and that kind of thing. So what are some specific things, and I thought there were some great ideas that were already raised in the last round, but what is the most important thing that your party would do to support engagement, especially with young people, in feeling that not only is Eesti sort of a home for us in a broad and general sense, but that we can feel in a very specific sense when we go to Eesti that we're being, that we're being welcomed, that we're being provided that information that'll allow us to do that better. Aitäh.
Aitäh, Veiko. So, seal on päris mitu küsimust siin. Et alustame Imre, Andres, kas sul midagi? Alustame siis Imre Soarega.
Yeah. Thank you. The first question was asked in English. The answer is yes. We support that, and we have some program points also regarding that. Teine küsimus esitati eesti keeles, vastan siis ka sellele eesti keeles. Jah, tegelikult ka meie programmis on käsitletud, kuidas piirata Eestist praegu piiranguteta välja viidavaid pankade kasumeid ja mida saaks teha, et siis kuidas neid kasutada paremini Eestis või kuidas rakendada osaliselt midagi ka Eesti hüvanguks ja kindlasti Toronto Eesti Ühispanga abi ja koostöö siin Eesti Pangaga oleks igati, arvan, tulemuslik asja tänuväärt. Aitäh. Kolmas küsimus oli teaduse rahastamisest ja see oli ka eesti keeles, vastan eesti keeles. Jah, meil on üsna palju punkte, mis puudutavad teadus-arendustegevust ja teaduse rahastamist. On hea, et praegune valitsus on jõudnud tegelikult selle, mitte ainult praegune valitsus, aga kõik erakonnad on praegu jõudnud selle ühiskokkuleppeni kirjutada protsent teadus-arendustegevusele ja ma usun, ka järgmine valitsus, kes iganes selle kokku paneb, sellest ka kinni peab. Aga konkreetsed näited, võib-olla üks on näiteks tehisintellekti ehk RATi aktiivsele kasutusele võtmine riigi infosüsteemide teenistuses ja koostöö teiste riikidega selles valdkonnas. Teiseks näiteks on isejuhtivate autode kasutusele võtuks vajaliku seadusandluse arendamine ning selleks sobivate IT-lahenduste leidmine, jällegi koostöös teadusorganisatsiooniga, koostöö CERN-iga, koostöö Euroopa kosmoseuuringute keskusega, nii edasi. Tegelikult neid punkte on üsna palju. Järgmine küsimus, nüüd, kas võiks korrata, ei jõudnud hästi kohale? Siin oli vahepeal kukub ära see heli. Neli ma vastasin, siis tuli üks härrasmees, aga siis oli väikesed heliaugud.
See oli Veiko küsimus oli just, kuidas aidata noori, kes tahavad tagasi pöörata Eestisse ja oma ajateenistust teha, et kuidas leida neid võimalusi, et kui nad lähevad tagasi. Et kas teie erakonnad toetavad seda et informatsiooni on puudus, et rohkem informatsiooni. Kas see on umbes õige, Veiko? Okei.
Kui ma nüüd praegu päris õigesti aru saan, siis tegelikult on see ka täna võimalik. Ma tean ise mõnesid noori, kes on elanud väliseestlased, väliseestist üles kasvanud ja on tulnud Eestisse kaitseväe teenistusse. Et ma ei näia, et seal praegu mingisuguseid takistusi on. Võib-olla info selle kohta on ebapiisav, aga kindlasti seda informatsiooni võiks levitada, et ka välismaal elavad Eesti kodanikud või nende lapsed kasvavad üles, saaksid tulla ja osaleda Eestis kaitseväe teenistus. Ma arvan, et Eestil ei ole midagi selle vastu.
Kas oli see umbes õige, Veiko? Aga see on rohkem üldiselt tagasi.
Informeerimise ja kommunikatsiooni küsimus pigem kui konkreetne programmipunkt. Ma ei leia, et seal mingit takistus oleks.
Jaa. Okei, aitäh, Imre. Minister Reinsalu.
Answer to first question is surely positive, yes. Asking the idea about the problem of whether going to the conscription or other services. So I think this is a problem in Estonia, and not speaking special about information about recruitment and conscription, but about the public sector mentality, that we do not take Estonian citizens as a clear part of a platform of information and services we need to address. And therefore, we need to, indeed, as I said, rise a level of duties of ambition to handle also Estonians living abroad. The third issue about the problem of banking taxation. Ma võin öelda, et me Eestis oleme vastu võtnud juba eraldi pankade maksustamise kohta seaduse eelmisel aastal ja teiseks ka kapitali laenudena siis kontsernide seest väljaviimise kohta ja maksuvabalt. Selle kohta on tegelikult Maksuametile antud juurde täiendavaid volitusi ja see avalik dispuut on tegelikult alguse saanudki sellest, et Maksuamet on hakanud jõudsamalt neid oma volitusi pruukima. Ja kolmas, mis puudutab nüüd Eesti teaduse, Eesti tuleviku innovatsioonivaadet, siis minu jaoks on väga tähtis see missioon, mis Eesti ülikoolidel on. Nagu on Soome ülikooli seaduses kirjas, ülikoolide ülesanne on teenida isamaad ja inimkonda. See tähendab, et Eesti ülikoolide kõige tähtsam ülesanne on tegelikult meie rahvusteadusi edasi anda, eestikeelset kõrgharidusõpet pakkuda ja mis on väga oluline, meie Eesti rahva noorem põlvkond valmistada ette selleks, et nad oleks tublimad, kui on nii varasem põlvkond. Nii et see ülikoolide hariduslik funktsioon on äärmiselt oluline. See, mis puudutab nüüd rahastamist teadusesse, siis Isamaa toetab samuti seda, et riigi vahenditest suunataks 1% sisemajanduse kogutulust teadusuuringuteks ja me eelistame seda, et see raha ei lähe mitte üksnes alusuuringuteks, vaid oluline on just nimelt toetada ettevõtlust, et tekiksid juurde need Eesti ettevõtted, kus on peakorter Eestis ja kus on Eesti kaubamärgid ja kus põhikasum tuleb järelikult ka Eesti ärimeestele. Nii et meie sõnum on üks ja selge, et jõukust loob ikkagi noor põlvkond Eesti inimesi ja seda peavad toetama kahtlemata ka riigi teadusrahastamise vahendid. Aitäh!
Suur tänu, Urmas. Meelis Niinepuu.
Ja vastus esimesele küsimusele välis-Eesti lood õppekavasse, et Eesti Mälu Instituut on juba seotud ühe sellise projektiga, mille nimi on Kogume lugu. Täpselt selline see interneti aadress ongi kogumelugu.ee, kus saate vaadata neid lugusid. Ma arvan, et neid on üks 30-40 videolugu, mis on kokku kogutud ja mida siis kasutatakse Eesti koolidest, et teie lugu edasi anda. Ja ametliku kooliprogrammi osana, praegu see on nii-öelda vabatahtlik, aga kindlasti on see hea mõte. Siis mis puudutab meie e-tiigrit, siis e-tiiger magab juba pikemat aega, tukub, et selles mõttes räägitakse päris palju meie e-eduloost, aga nüüd on aeg võtta jalad kõhu alt välja ja selle teemaga tegelikult tegelema hakata, et Eesti 200 programmis on päris palju asju, mis on selle sama asjaga seotud, et kui me räägime näiteks personaalsest riigist või ühe ukse poliitikast, näiteks seda, et riik täna teab osades valdkondades tunduvalt paremini kui kohalik omavalitsus näiteks, millist teenust on vaja, et sa ei küsi endale enam teenust, vaid riik küsib sinu käest, ahaa, teil sündis laps, kas te sooviksite vastu võtta sellise teenuse? Et siin on päris palju häid mõtteid. Eesti200.ee on meie programm üleval. Mis puudutab siis neid samu pensionifonde, enne juba mainisin, iga aasta viime umbes 400 miljonit välja, väga madalad tootlused. Meie mõte on siis tuua vähemalt pool Eesti majandusse tagasi, et me hakkaksime investeerima siis nendesse väärtusahelatesse, kus me paneme majanduse kasvama. Piltlikult öeldes me liigume freespalgi juurest siis biokeemia juurde, kui me kasutame puidutööstuse võrdlust. ja viimase punktina nimetaksin võib-olla siis meie sellist peakorterite maa loogikat, et Eesti 200 on nii-öelda pika plaani erakond, et me vaatame kaugemale kui lihtsalt 4-aastased lubadused, et ütleme, et seesama jutt, et 10 aasta pärast võiks Eestis olla maailma parim seadusandlus teatud tüüpi ettevõtete siia siis toomiseks. Nii, ja viimane küsimus vist puudutas kaasmaalaste programmi või kas sa oskad seda täpselt?
Noorte küsimus, tagasipöördumine.
Ja, no, ma arvan, et kõik hakkab nagu suhtumisest pihta, et kui ma enne mainisin, et mis riiki siis me tagasi pöördume, et ükski erakond Eestis ei ärka hommikul üles mõttega, et hakkaks nüüd Isamaad maha müüma, et kui te vaatate sotsiaalmeedias, siis teatud erakondade puhul teid hirmutatakse mingite selliste asjadega, et mina isana, ettevõtjana, kodanikuna soovin oma riigile ju head. Ehk siis see, et inimesed siia tagasi pöörduksid, eeldab sõbralikku keskkonda. Ja et meid pidevalt hirmutatakse tänapäeval. No, vabandan, ma teen korra ühe märkuse. Näiteks ma vaatasin, et Torontos teie ajaleht tsiteerib näiteks sellist kanalit nagu Uued uudised. Et vabandust, aga Uued uudised edastab sageli nagu asja, mida me kutsume fake news. Et me peaksime oma Eestit ehitama niimoodi, et need noored, kes tulevad ikkagi Eestisse, mis on sõbralik ka võõraste inimeste suhtes, kes siia tulevad.
Ja. Aitäh, Meelis. Minister Mikser.
Ja, aitäh. Saab ka siis selle townhalli lõpuks pöörduda emakeele juurde. Et sarnaselt teiste osalejatega, et ega sellele esimesele küsimusele ju eitavat vastust ei anna keegi, et loomulikult Eesti loost on väliseesti lugu väga oluline osa, et muidugi tuleb üldse mõelda sellele, et seda mööda, kuidas maailm läheb keerulisemaks ja kuidas õppekavad järjest täituvad ja lõpuks lähevad nii pungile, et lähevad lõhki. Et kuidas kõik see vajalik, mida on eestlaseks olemiseks vaja inimesel teada ja omandada haridusteel, kuidas see kõik sinna ära mahuks. Aga absoluutselt väliseesti lugu on osa Eesti loost ja oluline osa ja seda tuleb tunda. Mis puudutab nüüd neid panganduspraktikaid ja seda, kuidas reguleerida kapitali välja viimist ja selliseid ebakohaseid praktikaid, et jätta siis ka Eestis teenitu võimalikult suurel määral Eesti inimeste, Eesti ühiskonna ja Eesti riigi teenistusse, et siin me oleme tõepoolest viimase 10 aasta jooksul, ma usun pärast seda suurt finantskriisi teinud olulisi samme, aga loomulikult seda seadusandlust tuleb järjepidevalt täiendada ja arendada. Teaduse rahastamise osas on tõepoolest meeldiv, et see üksmeel on erakondade vahel märkimisväärne. Ka valitsuse majandusarengu komisjonis ja teistel tasanditel oleme arutanud, kuidas seda ressurssi eeldusel, et see parteide kokkulepe, erakondade kokkuleppega muutub reaalseks poliitikaks pärast järgmisi valimisi, et kuidas seda ressurssi siis kasutada nii, et piisav osa sellest oleks suunatud ettevõtetele innoveerimiseks ja samal ajal ka siis teadusasutused ei jääks vaeslapse ossa, sest kahtlemata selleks, et Eesti areneks ja edeneks, ka meie juhtivad ülikoolid peavad selles globaalses ahelas suutma tõusta veelgi kõrgemale, et meie lipulaevad Tartu Ülikool, TalTech või Tallinna Tehnikaülikool on väga väärikad, väga tugevad teadusasutused, aga globaalses hierarhias kindlasti tuleb pürgida veel palju kõrgemale. Ja selge on, et siin ma olen nõus eelkõnelejaga, et tagasipöördumisel on oluline, et tõepoolest Eesti ühiskond oleks selline, kes on valmis tulijaid vastu võtma. Selline ühiskond, kuhu on meeldiv tulla. Meil on tegelikult ka Kultuuriministeeriumis programmid siis naasjate tarvis, aga kahtlemata see rahastus täna ei ole piisav. Tuleb möönda küll, et jah, et suurem osa neist tagasitulijatest, kes tõepoolest tagasi tulevad päriseks, et need on inimesed, kes on pigemini, suurem osa neist on lahkunud suhteliselt hiljuti ja nende probleemid nii-öelda reintegratsiooni puhul on üsna spetsiifilised, näiteks laste haridusvõimalustega seonduvad, erinevate toetustega seonduvad kohalike omavalitsuste tasemel. Et võib-olla need probleemid, mis puudutavad nüüd Põhja-Ameerikas elavaid inimesi, kes tulevad Eestisse kaitseväeteenistusse, on mõnevõrra teistsugused, aga mõlemaga kahtlemata riik peab suutma toime tulla.
Ja, aitäh, minister. Jaak Madison, palun.
Thank you. Anyway, for the first question is definitely yes. I can't imagine that some candidates to the parliament will say, no, we don't have to teach the children about diasporas abroad from Estonia. So definitely yes. I think it doesn't matter like who's going to be like the Minister of Education after elections. All the parties are presented here on the debate. So this information has to go forward anyway to the minister. Teine küsimus oli seal panganduse kohta ja teaduse kohta. Ma kiiresti siis mainin ära, et sellest juba eelmistel valimistel räägiti 2015 eelkõige meie erakonna poolt, et probleem on selles, et väga suured kasumid lähevad Eestist välja ilma maksustamata läbi nii-öelda ema- ja tütarfirmade laenude. Tol hetkel naerdi meie erakonda välja, et mis te nüüd nalja teete, et nad loovad töökohti siin, mis siis, et madalama palgaga töökohti pangatellerite näol, kuid ikkagi see nagu ei olnud probleem, nüüd 4 aastat hiljem äkki see on probleem. Lõpuks ometi saadakse aru. Teadusarengu koha pealt siis loomulikult 5 erakonda ja allkirjastasid kokkulepet tõsta teadusrahastust. Meie seda põhimõtteliselt meelega ei allkirjastanud, kuna see on jälle deklaratiivne näide enne valimisi, et kõik justkui muretsevad teadusrahastuse pärast, see on probleem olnud viimased 15 aastat. Täna on 0,81% SKP-st on teadusrahastus ja kõik tulevad enne valimisi välja, et meil on vaja ühtset eestikeelset haridust, meil on vaja teadusrahastust tõesti või? Kus me enne olime? Et ühesõnaga, et selline justkui nii-öelda deklaratiivne allkirjade andmine enne valimisi, tore on, et seda tehakse, kas seda peale valimisi keegi mäletab? Ma kahtlen. Et loomulikult 1% peaks olema miinimum eesmärk niikuinii, mida rohkem seda parem ja muidugi ja kuhu see teadusrahastus läheb. Eesmärk on ju selles, et see teadus arendaks Eesti teadust, Eesti ettevõtlust, Eesti ekspordivõimekust, see peab minema sellesse. Tagasirändamine loomulikult jällegi pean kiitma enda programmi, 2015 oli meil juba tagasirände agentuuri ettepanek, et oleks olemas agentuur, kuhu inimene saab pöörduda. Kui ta tuleb tagasi, millises omavalitsusse, kus ta saab lapse kooli panna, kus on tööpakkumised, mis on igapäevased toimingud, mida peab tegema tagasi tulla. Ja mis puudutab seda meelsust ja nii-öelda seda mentaliteeti, no kuulge, kui härra Niinepuu räägib siin, et uued.ee on fake news, siis esiteks ma soovitan pöörduda toimetuse poole ja osutada, milline uudis on valetamine. See, kui lihtsalt ideoloogiliselt mõni asi ei meeldi, et see on konservatiivses võtmes uudis, see on juba isiklik probleem. Aga see ei ole veel fake news. Ma tean väga palju fake news'e ka CNN-i portaalist. Kas keegi räägib sellest? Ei räägi. Seega ma usun, et mitte ükski Eesti inimene täna ei ole selle vastu, kui Eesti päritolu inimene tuleb tagasi oma kodumaale, kus on tema vanema asjarunud, see pole mitte mingisugune probleem. Tere tulemast kõigile, kuid samas Eesti ei ole avatud ustega riik, et tere tulemast kõikidele, ükskõik kus kohast, ükskõik millise meelsusega või ükskõik milliste kavadega. Seda kindlasti mitte ja seda ei saa ka olema. Aga kõik Eesti inimesed, need 200 inimest, tere tulemast. Aitäh!
Aitäh, Jaak. Ma lihtsalt ütleks Kanada jälle perspektiivist, et tagasipöördumisega on, ma tean, oma nagu sõprade ringkonnas on alati küsimus olnud, et missugune see Eestisse tagasiminek on, et meil oleme harjunud siin Kanadas vähemalt nagu päris kõrge nagu tolerantsusega ja multikultuuri sellise ühiskonnaga ja tundub, et Eestis on ikka natukene arendamist vaja teha nende teemadel, ennem kui vähemalt minul oleks mugav tagasi Eestisse pöörduda. Erik-Niiles Kross.
Esimene küsimus oli siis Eesti diaspora lugude liitmine kooliprogrammidesse. Jah või ei küsimus, et loomulikult, kas see on üks osa üleüldse Eesti eestlaste ja diaspora eestlaste kokkusidumisest, ma räägin sellest natukese hiljem veel, aga jah, on vastus küsimusele nagu kõigil teistel ka ilmselt. Eesti panganduse kohta me ei ole veendunud Reformierakonnas, et välismaiste pankade kasumi väljaviimine oleks ülemäärane suur probleem, mis ei tähenda seda, et Eesti panganduses ei oleks probleeme. Tegelikult me oleme päris mures praegu Eesti panganduse olukorra pärast. Rahapesuskandaal Danskega on andnud suure hoobi meile. Sellega tuleb kindlasti tegeleda. See rahapesu teema tuleb kindlasti lõpuni läbi rääkida ja ära uurida. on arusaadav, aga reaktsioonina Eestis on pankade enda käitumine ja pangaregulaatorite käitumine läinud nagu teise serva, et kui me räägime küll, et me oleme väga avatud majandus ja meil on väga soodne majanduskeskkond, siis tegelikult praegu välisinvestoritel on väga keeruline Eestis pangaarveid avada. Eesti enda ettevõtjatel on üha keerulisem ka kapitalile juurdepääsuga, et Eesti pangandus hakkab muutuma üha kinnisemaks. Ja see on pikemas plaanis suur probleem, et me peame ka mõtlema selle peale, et me endale ise nuga selga ei lööks. E-riigi edulugu, sellest on siin nüüd juba mitu korda räägitud, et kõik erakonnad, suured erakonnad toetavad teadus-arendusrahade tõstmist 1% SKP-st. Meie jaoks on tähtis, et see raha läheks ka võimalikult palju erasektorile, mitte ainult riigi ettevõtetele, et me ei looks juurde riiklikke töökohti liiga palju. Aga jah, teadus-arendusraha on väga oluline. Meil on programmis ka planeeritud üks selline fond, mis aitaks alustavaid kõrgtehnoloogia ettevõtteid, Eesti ettevõtteid. Et tark majandus on üldse meie majanduspoliitika selline põhisõnum täna. Samuti on ette nähtud ülikoolide juures nõndanimetatud innovatsiooni inkubaatorite toetamine, mis just nimelt seda uurimist ja aitaks arendada ja siduda seda rohkem praktiliste lahendustega, et see ei oleks kõik ainult teoreetiline, et tõepoolest majandusel oleks ka kasu sellest midagi. Ja üks selline laiem eesmärk võiks olla või konkreetsem eesmärk võiks olla, et Eestis peaks olema vähemalt 2 ülikooli, mis kuuluvad maailma tipp 100 hulka. Praegu on 1. Ja nüüd Veiko küsimus tagasipöördumisest, ajateenistusest ja kõigest sellest, et tegelikult tuleksin tagasi oma avasõnumi juurde. Et me praegu siin kuulame diaspora muresid ja neid küsimusi ja teie justkui peate tulema meie juurde küsima midagi ja tahtma kuidagi olla seotud Eestiga. Et tegelikult peaks olema vastupidi, et tegelikult peaksid Eesti poliitikud ja erakonnad tulema teie juurde ja küsima, mis on teie huvid, kuidas me saaksime teid paremini esindada. Sel teel saab siduda seda Eesti globaalset eestlust kokku. Ja ma olen natuke üllatunud, et minister Mikser ja keegi veel siin väitis, et ei saa valimisringkondi muuta ilma põhiseadust muutmata. Põhiseaduses ei ole ühtegi sõna valimisringkondadest, saab väga hästi, see käib valimisseadusega, kus on öeldud lihtsalt, mis on valimisringkonnad. Ja kui Eesti diasporaal oleks oma valimisringkonnad, siis kandideerida saaksid seal ju ka poliitikud Eestist. Siis meie kõik oleksime täna mitte siin Tallinnas ekraanide taga, vaid seal teie juures. Kõik Eesti erakonnad teeksid Toronto, Stockholmis ja igal pool mujal kampaaniat. Eesti diasporaa noortel oleks üks huvitav võimalus ka võib-olla kandideerida, nad teaksid, et saaksid tulla Eesti poliitikasse ja sellisel juhul oleks just nimelt see poliitiline võim, mis on kodanikel ja poliitilise üksuse liikmetel olemas, ka teie käes ja sellisel moel tekiks üks globaalne Eesti rahvusriik.
Absoluutselt nõus. Loodetavasti järgmise 4 aasta jooksul me saame seda saavutada. Aitäh, Erik. Andres Herkel, palun.
Ja aitäh, ma arvan ka, et valimisringkondade muutmiseks põhiseadust pole vaja muuta, aga nüüd, mis puudutab seda väliseesti lugu Eesti koolides, ma oleksin väga imestunud, kui seda üldse ei oleks. Ma arvan, et on, aga ei tea seda võib-olla nii täpselt ja vastus kahtlemata on jaa. Sellele ettepanekule, et see võiks tugevamalt kõlada ja seda teadlikumalt sisse tuua kindlasti. Nüüd järgmised küsimused, mis algasid siin kõigepealt pankadest ja pankadete kasumitest. Ma arvan, et see on probleem. Ja ka Vabaerakond eelmisel korral valimistel osutas sellele probleemile, sellega on hakatud tegelema kontserdis laenud ja edasi. Et selles mõttes ma Reformierakonnaga päriselt nõustuda ei taha. Kahtlemata Danske Bank ja kõik sellega kaasneb on olnud suur probleem ja ka panganduse kinniseks muutumine on oht. Ja siin väga sümpaatselt kõlas tegelikult see Toronto ühispanga näide ma arvan, et meil algusest peale oli natukene liiga nõrk kodanikuühiskond selleks, et selliseid nähtusi ka Eestis selgemalt esile kutsuda, et nüüd meil on välispangad. E-riigi osas, jah, see tiiger tukub, see e-riigi edulugu on ohus, see on tõsi. 1% teaduse rahastamises suurepärane kokkulepe, tõesti valimiseelne. Siin ma ei saa jätta meenutamata, et Vabaerakond on kutsunud esile neid Riigikogu olulise tähtsusega riikliku küsimuse arutelusid teaduse arengu, teaduse rahastamise teemal. Ja kui teha nüüd etteheide praegusele valitsusele, siis see on see, et headel aegadel, kui majandus on kasvanud, ei ole innovatsiooni ja teadusesse investeeritud. Kindlasti nii alusuuringud, ettevõtlusega seotud innovatsioon, kui rahvusteadused on tähtsad ja kui jutt on ülikoolidest, kahtlemata ka see küsimus, mis keeles tehakse meil magistritöid, ja doktoritööde tasemel eesti keel kaduma ei läheks, see on äärmiselt oluline. Siiski selle konkurentsivõime kõrval ma tahaks rõhutada, et eestikeelse kõrghariduse tulevik on väga tähtis. Ja viimane küsimus, jõuangi viimase küsimuse juurde, mis oli tagasipöördumisega seoses. Ma pean tunnistama, et ma ei ole kuulnud neid probleeme, mis on seotud tagasipöördumisega, et keegi tahab minna sõjaväeteenistusse ja ei saa. Võib-olla neid on olnud, võib-olla on see ka nii, et seda ei saa teha kohe siis sellel hetkel, kui see mõte tuleb, aga ma tahaks küll loota, et see on võimalik. Tagasipöördumise suured probleemid on Eestis seotud eeskätt ikkagi haridusega. Kui noored inimesed tulevad, tahavad oma lapsed kooli panna, siis põrkuvad nad tihtipeale just selle raskusega, et ei ole sobivat kooli, ei taheta teha neid järeleaitamistunde selleks, et lülituda, kas taaslülituda või lülituda esmakordselt eestikeelsele haridusele. Me mõistame, et see kõik on keeruline, aga siin peaks Eesti riik andma küll väga palju rohkem paindlikkus. Tihti probleem on ka omavalitsuste tasemel. Ma ei ole päriselt nõus selle EKRE arusaamisega, et mingi eraldi agentuur need probleemid lahendab. See agentuur, mis tagasirännet aitaks, soodustaks ja teadvustaks seda meile, peab olema Eesti riik tervikuna ja siin ma teen tegelikult natuke analoogilise etteheite, mis siis teadus-arendustegevuse rahastamise puhul, et headel aegadel, kui Eestil läheb hästi ja kui meil on ka tööga enam-vähem asjad paremad ikkagi, kui sellel ajal, kui väljaminemise laine meil oli, peaksime me hoopis aktiivsemalt kasutama neid võimalusi ja investeerima sellesse, et tagasipöördumist hoogustada.
Aitäh! Ma tänaks kõiki teid, ma tean, et me oleme nüüd ligi pool tundi veel võtnud teie aega ja me oleme tõesti tänulikud Andres, Eerik, Sven, Jaak, Meelis, Urmas ja Imre. Palun aplausi kõigi kandidaatide jaoks. Suur tänu teile. Tundub, et kõik erakonnad ikka mõtlevad selle globaalse eestluse teema peale ja palju õnne kõikidel valimistel ja ma lihtsalt tahaks ka kiiresti tänada professor Andres Kasekampa, et ta tuli ja modereeris meiega. Suur tänu. Teised, kes suureks abiks on olnud, on Allan Eistrat, kes on audioga tegelenud. Tõnu Orav, suur tänu sulle ja minu EKN juhatusele. Kairi Taul, Mart Läpik, David Amtik, Toomas Tammark, Nick Kazakov ja muidugi Reet Seer ja Tõnu Altosaar ja Laas Leivat. Ja suur tänu teile, et te tulite ja see näitab, et te olete olnud siin, et te hoolite küll globaalsete eestlusest, meie identiteedist. Ma loodan, et te kõik valite ja ma loodan, et te räägite oma sõpradega ja teete kindlaks, et nemad kõik valivad. See on täiesti oluline. Suur tänu. Head õhtut. Aitäh.